The next family session, the therapist began the session summarizing the stuck feelings of the family's interactional pattern and leaned into the positive caregiving intent that the parents had expressed in their separate session. Tina was congratulated in her courage and strength to attend this session, given how difficult the last session had been, and the parents were invited to talk to Tina directly about the past. The therapist introduced the topic by referring to attachment injuries that can happen in families and that keep them stuck and unable to feel secure and connected to one another. Okay, welcome back, everybody. Thank you for joining us today, Tina. I want to tell you, I know that we all got off on the wrong foot in our last session, but I am positive that we can work things out. How does that sound to you?
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Okay, great. So what I'm going to do now is summarize what happened in the last session. So we found that there were some relational blocks in the dyadic relationships in the family, and we know that Tina was sexually molested at 8 years old and didn't receive the help she needed and assistance at the time. The father, Mike, was on his family side instead, and the mother was overprotective of Tina, and this led to Tina being very distant from her father and having a very distant relationship. The mother is the mediator and messenger between her husband and daughter because both people do not talk to each other. This leads to the mother getting tired from being the person in the middle of this dyadic relationship, and her husband is expected to be more present with his daughter. And we also learned from the session with the parents that the father was abused as a child growing up, but this brought about a revelation that because the father wasn't able to heal from his trauma, it blocked him from being the father that everyone wanted him to be to Tina and Josh. Now, I have understood from this that there is a very limited, intense sort of interaction in this family from both the couple's side and the parent child relationship. So, due to Tina's unfortunate incident, many relational blocks were born from it, such as the father not being more present and engaging with his daughter, or the daughter being closed off, or how both the mother and father argued about being there for their own daughter. There are many things that get in the way of a parent child relationship, but if we don't address it, the child would end up feeling alone and not having their needs reciprocated, while the parent struggles with caregiving because there are some attachment injuries that is still straining this dyadic relationship. So, in this session, I just want to ask what is preventing you, the parents, from connecting more with you?
Yeah, there were a lot of things that happened, and Tina said she doesn't want to go back, but there are a lot of things that we have tried to move forward. And one of those things is the situation with our outside family, with the things that happened when she was young. I don't think I addressed it properly. I never addressed it with Tina, that she was hurt, and I wish I was more in tune. I didn't realize how much damage I was doing to Tina. Um, Tina, I am sorry about what happened. It wasn't right. I wasn't thinking right.
And you feel that sorry now for not letting her know that it was wrong and that you didn't support her.
I think about it more now than I did then. I've had a lot of time to think about all those things that happened. I can't go back, but I wish I had been there for her. But I can't see pain unless it is bleeding. So I couldn't see my own daughter was hurting.
Yes, and at the time you didn't see clearly, you didn't see what was happening to Tina.
I wasn't aware of myself and my own abuse.
Not being able to look at yourself blinded you from seeing Tina, and you were trying to stay away from the pain of the abuse that you experienced.
I'm pretending that it wasn't there, trying to move on, just keep moving on. I hoped it would go away, but it didn't. It didn't go away.
Right, your way of protecting yourself from the pain of your abuse kept you from seeing your daughter's pain. And the more you didn't look at yourself, the more you couldn't see your own daughter.
And it wasn't right. I should have been there.
I'm hearing you completely. Right now, you are sharing with your daughter what happened to you and how that blinded you from seeing her. Can you tell her that?
Tina, I just wish I was more there for you. And I'm trying to make it up because I know that you must have gone through hell and I just wasn't there for you. You were a complete victim and I am proud of who you are.
Tina, you can't look at him right now? This is extremely hard, but he is saying some important things. He is saying that he wasn't there for you. And the sadness and sorrow that you're feeling is all about how precious she is and the sorrow you feel for letting your little girl down. And for you, Tina, to see your father's sadness, if you were going to look at his face right now, you would see his tears, and that's what you would see because he cares about you.
I'm so sorry.
And for you to feel this is about you, this is about your pain.
Why is everybody crying? I don't like this.
The therapist accepted Tina's block and helped her make sense of how she wasn't able to take in her father's sadness right now, and supported Mike working through his shame. Instead of withdrawing or trying to fix the situation, Mike acknowledged his failure to be with his daughter when she needed him most. Mike's sadness regarding not seeing Tina's pain was voiced, and he was then able to initiate a repair directly with Tina, by expressing his sorrow and regret directly.
I just feel his sadness. It feels like it's on me.
All of this emotion right now is not your fault. It is not your fault. Your father is feeling this because he cares about you, and when we care, we feel sadness when we hurt people we love. I know you care too, and it's hard to see your father in pain. But he is strong enough to shed these tears in front of you.
That was very hard for him. I know he has been wanting to say it.
And you didn't feel any of this at the time, and you went through this by yourself, and you had to be strong all by yourself alone. Although Tina was confused and disturbed by her father's sorrow, Deb was able to support her husband by acknowledging his pain, and she affirmed his desire to openly share his more vulnerable experience with Tina. In the parent session, the parents' divide over what happened when Tina was 8 was fully processed. Mike was able to share more directly with his wife what stood in the way of him not seeing his daughter's pain, including his own abuse as a child. Deb could then soften in her own anger of being directed at Mike at this time, and shared her own anger created more conflict and divide in the family. Mike and Deb came to the family session with their parental alliance repaired and strengthened. The therapist then moved the work with Tina more directly with her blocks to receiving her father's message. So, having your father reach for you like this, I bet it's confusing. It's like, really, I don't know where to put this all.
Yeah.
I don't know how to understand it because you went through that by yourself and you just had to develop your own way of dealing with it, which was don't feel, put one foot in front of the other, and be strong, which is what you did, right? But you wouldn't have made it in any other way because you had to go on. Do you see? I know it is hard for you to look at your father, but you can hear his sorrow. Can you help me? Like, what is it like for you to see his caring?
Hmm. I want to say it's a bit late.
Sure, and that is perfectly legitimate that you feel this way. And maybe I don't want to say that because I don't want to hurt him.
I mean, like, it is nice to see that things are being acknowledged now, but it's something I've already resolved.
Right, so it's kind of like you have moved on, and like, where were you, Dad? Is that it?
Yeah, yeah.
And for you to say that right now, yes, I can see, Dad, how you feel, but do you realize what I went through? For you to say that, you would feel that your father couldn't hear that.
No, no, it doesn't make any sense. It's too late.
Because he said that he is sorry that he wasn't there, and for your dad to feel his sorrow also opens a door for you to feel it, but that's not going to solve it. You have your own experiences with this because you were alone and did go through most of it alone. And it's kind of like you were saying, how can you be there today when I was all alone? And keeping your door shut is saying, I don't want to go back.
I do need to move on.
At this juncture, the therapist works to help process Tina's block to receiving her father's caregiving response. The therapist legitimizes Tina's self reliant defense, as this was her experience growing up, and validating her emotional response in the moment. It is also an effort to help the father understand where his daughter is emotionally at this point in time. It is important that the focus remain attuned to Tina's emotional world. Otherwise, this disclosure becomes about the father again and misses the daughter, and she remains unheard and invisible. And what is that like for you that she is saying that she wants to move on from this?
I am getting it. I understand her.
You understand what it's like to just move on to protect yourself, or she wants to protect you?
No, no, no. She wants to move on. She is very committed to her own growth. Right, but I hear that she hears me, and I have had this monkey on my back for too long.
Yeah, and that monkey had a stranglehold on you. It didn't let you see Tina and what she needed. And right now, you took charge and you let Tina know that you were sorry, but you don't expect her to be a certain way or react a certain way.
Well, in a perfect world, I would love for us to be able to have a big hug. The reality is, she is the kind of person that needs to think this through and take it away and process her experience.
Well, she is self reliant and needs to rely on how she has learned to look after herself.
Really,
And that is how she has survived. And you understand that?
as long as you know and that you can take away from today that I am really sincere and that you know I'm there for you, I will cross a million miles to be there for you to get to you.
What is happening right now for you, Tina?
I don't know why this is just about us. She wasn't there for me either. She was in the exact same spot.
The therapist then focused on the mother who needed to work through her defensiveness and explanations before she could acknowledge her remorse and regret. Through this process, she was able, with great sadness, to apologize to her daughter for not being there for her. The triad had moved away from the usual pattern of parents' caregiving being blocked by their shame and Tina feeling unheard and not seen by her parents, which kept them stuck and unable to process together what had happened to Tina and acknowledge their hurt and regret. Mike's admission of failure to be there for Tina, his expression of regret, and also his acceptance of Tina's need to rely on herself allowed Tina to take the next step of asserting herself with her mother directly. The therapist then turned to Tina, exploring her response to her parents' efforts to acknowledge and share their sorrow.
I used to be sad about it, but now I'm not. Because if I didn't go through that, I wouldn't be where I am. I am everything that happened to me. It was terrible, and no one should ever go through it, but at the same time, I don't regret it, and I don't see my life going any other way.
Well, it's part of who you are and how you have developed, and the person that has the strength is because of everything that you've been through.
Yeah, that's true.
Right, absolutely. And that is very mature. And the other part that will be able to get comfort and not have to do it alone because when we are alone, everything is worse, everything is harder, and that's when it's at its darkest.
And that's where we are because dealing with the past has been dragging us down, and we do need you to hear us. We also want to hear you too.
But it has been dragging you guys down, and it's been a burden that you have been carrying, and you've been surviving because you had to, and you were on your own. And you have grown through it and gotten strength, but you are also witnessing parts of your parents that you've never witnessed before. And now you are seeing them be honest and acknowledging and saying, I'm sorry. And they are saying that they weren't there, and they are seeing you not as that 8-year-old kid or the 12-year-old, but they are seeing you the way that you are past that. You are a young woman that is part of your strength and resilience of a 17-year-old self. The therapist explores the past and present with Tina as she needs her parents to recognize her growth and who she has become. Tina's question to her parents remains the same. Do you see me? Today she is asking, do you see how I've grown? I am strong. Will you be there for me today the way I need you, not just with sadness and regret over the past? As both parents are able to hear and see Tina in the past and in the present, they are truly expressing accessibility, responsiveness, and emotional engagement. Mother and father's acknowledgement of their role in Tina's abuse was an important first step in helping this family heal. The parents opening up around their guilt, rather than relying on their strategies of overactivation and underactivation, allowed them to begin to attune to Tina in the present time and give space to Tina to talk about her own experience. The end of this session marks the end of stage 1, as the parents are now emotionally accessible and responsive and the blocks to caregiving systems have been identified and processed. Tina's relational block with her parents were also processed by helping her to make sense of what was happening with her parents and giving voice to her own emotional response in the present moment. The therapist acknowledged and validated her strategy, which helped Tina give voice to what she needed as a young woman from her parents. The Stage 2 work focused on the attachment bonds between mother and Tina and father and Tina in order to work deeper with each one of these relationships and to help Tina feel heard and seen by her mother and father. Deb engaged in overzealous attempts to correct Tina's childhood experiences through anxiously attending to Tina in an overprotective way. Father tended to avoid contact with Tina, talking to his daughter through his wife, and attempting to please her through doing tasks for her. The couple's estranged relationship had made it difficult for them to create a supportive parenting coalition with each other. The therapist structured the next treatment steps as dyadic sessions in order for Tina to have her needs heard by each parent. The dyadic sessions interrupted the usual pattern of Tina avoiding direct contact with Mike and Deb, mediating the conversation between Tina and her husband. The following excerpt is from the session between Mother and Tina. So let's go slow. You are talking about your own reactions here, and Tina is talking about hers. So let's go slow so you can both hear each other out. Because you want to be able to hear her. And you are doing a great job, Deb, and I want you to know I can see that.
Yeah, I have a thing with my worry.
It is hard. Sometimes our kids teach us how to be with them, and they grow up, and we are trying to adjust ourselves and know how to react. And sometimes the only way we can be there is to listen and hear what they're needing, because as they get older and more mature, they're able to do that.
She's my first.
Yeah, it's like an experiment. We're learning, right? And you are saying you can see how much Tina has grown, and yes, there has been bad stuff that has happened to her, but you say that you can also see her strength.
Definitely, she is a stronger person.
Coming out of the things she has gone through, like you said, I wouldn't be the kind of person I am today without going through all that stuff, even with the problems. And that is amazing that you can turn something that was so bad into a strength. And you are not the victim, you are a survivor. You are able to say, hey, I am here where I am, given what I have been, and every time I hear you worry and try to save me from something, that affects you, right? Because she doesn't see what you want her to see.
Basically, that I can handle it on my own.
I can handle things on my own, right? You want her to have some confidence in you?
Yeah,
Because if you need her, you know you can go to her. Am I assuming something? You can go to your mother? So it's not that you can't speak up for yourself, you can do that.
yeah, because when there's a problem, I will go to her, but I don't think she needs to talk to me.
Okay, I don't think you need to come to me because I want you to believe in me and see me. I am not the 8-year-old kid or the 12-year-old girl anymore. Is that it? When I say that, does that hit home for you? Like, what would that be like if she could see you and listen to you and see?
It would be a lot easier. I wouldn't be carrying something on my back.
You would feel a little lighter, correct? You wouldn't have so much weight on your back? Because that's a lot of responsibility that you're carrying, right? And is that what it feels like?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I am carrying everyone's worries.
You feel like you're carrying everyone's worries, and it's kind of like they can't see all of you because the worry is blocking. And because they see their worry, if you are always worried and want to protect me, you are not seeing the strong side of me. And if I'm carrying all those worries, what does this do to you?
Sometimes I doubt myself because personally, I think I'm doing really well in life right now. But the only things that people seem to see are bad things about me.
Well, yeah, that hurts when the only things your mother sees are the bad things about you, right?
Right, and she makes me feel a bit lower about where my life is going when I should be super happy.
Sure, it is sad. It's like you were saying, I get those worries on my back, it starts to penetrate even though I'm strong, and it starts to weigh me down, and then I start to doubt myself and feel bad about myself and I get scared. Is that correct?
Yeah,
So, do you think you could tell her? Turn and tell her this feels very important, and I am blown out of the water about how you're able to articulate this. And this feels very important to you to share directly with your mother.
I mean, I could, but I just said it, and in the past, I have said the exact same things before.
And your mother hasn't listened. So it's hard, and what's the point? Because if I actually open up like this and the same things happen,
Sometimes when we get into an argument, I have said something, and then she says, nobody said these things to me.
this is where things get more painful. So it's kind of like if I speak up and I may hurt my mother, and then she's going to say, I don't want to be with you.
I don't talk, and she just keeps talking.
So you're not getting angry and you're trying not to talk at all, and that isn't working. But you're trying to do a new dance step with her. And when your mother is saying at the start of the session that she is trying to take a step back, you're saying, hey, I don't know, this part doesn't feel like it's changing. So do you really understand what it is about for me? And it would be too hard to say anything directly to your mother because it has happened so many times. You would talk and then your mother would leave and you would be alone again. So sure, this makes sense to me, Tina, and that would be really hard to take that chance with your mother to open up and tell her about your hurt and your pain, and then she would be hurt and you would be alone. What's that like for you to be listening to Tina?
I feel bad. I feel really, really bad. I am hearing her.
What is it that you are hearing from her?
Well, as she is saying this, I am envisioning myself sitting on the couch, and her tone does trigger me sometimes.
So you can see the dance and how it gets going between the two of you, but the way Tina is talking right now and she is not pushing you away or just not responding, she's actually opening up to you.
I guess that's why it is hitting me more. She is not yelling at me. I'm actually just sitting there, and I do not see that I try and figure it out, but all I can really do is just try and take baby steps.
Okay, but before you try and fix yourself, let's just try and listen to her. And you are saying, I am actually hearing her in a different way because you are just talking together and I am not getting defensive.
Yes, and that is rare for me.
Well, it is hard, right? Because you're very committed and like mothers in guilt. They go together like two peas in a pod, but your daughter can open up to you in a way that is really amazing and she can describe her response to you. She's really mature, very mature.
I did hear her, and I'm still kicking myself. I look back and go, oh God.
You are being driven by a worry inside of you, and that's driven by this need to protect the daughter that you love. Let's focus on what Tina is saying here. I see you trying to get after yourself, and what I am hearing is Tina is just opening up and she is letting you know what it is like for her when she gets this weight on her back and she feels like she is carrying the load alone. Not just from you, but everybody else, that weight starts to pull her down and she starts to doubt herself. And you are saying this worry comes and it takes over me, and it is hard for you to relax and say, she's okay, Tina is okay, you're okay.
I do try to be positive.
Deb, can you try and stay with me? So, when I say you are okay and Tina is okay, your daughter is actually thriving. What is that like for you?
Absolutely.
Yes, you do believe in her, encourage her, and you do support her.
Absolutely.
So, this other part gets triggered, this worry. And worry has a grip on you, and you need to protect her. And this mother bear gets going and charges in and protects her. And your protection is on overdrive. And when Tina says she's moved on and actually is stronger for some of the things that she has gone through, you're saying, it is hard for me, I keep getting dragged back, and I still need to be fierce about how I protect her.
This happens all the time. I mean, she is a beautiful young woman.
Then it's like what you were saying last time, that some of this is fueled by the guilt when you didn't protect her and you were compensating for a time that you weren't there. And what Tina is saying, that when you do that now, mom, you are not seeing the 17-year-old girl that I have become. You are going back in time, and for you to be released by that, that would be a big step for you. Um, you are talking about it to find a way to balance today, and for Tina as a 17-year-old, and for you as a mother of a 17-year-old, you've had some stuff that has been hard, but you have lived through. And what I am seeing is that you guys don't have a distant relationship. You actually have a very close relationship. And you are trying to figure out how to not overstep. And Tina is saying, yeah, Mom, there are times you do overstep and you say things that actually undermine me. And what I'm needing from you is for you to actually believe in me and have confidence in me and see where I am today. So that is what I'm hearing. Is that a fair summary for me to make?
Yeah, that is correct.
And she can't turn and ask for that because she is afraid you won't hear her and what she is really needing for you to see her as she is today. And what would it be like for you to see her as capable?
I do see her. I just think that this one is on me. It's very hard for me to say that to her.
My worry is about me, not Tina. Do you want to tell her that?
Yeah. Look, Tina, I do believe that you don't need me mixing in your social media, and I do know that I do that. And I guess I am in protection mode. I call myself Mother Bear. I don't want anyone to hurt you, but I understand that I go too far.
And you are saying this is you and actually not her at all.
And I can say that I will honestly try even harder. I will step back and not get crazy in my head. I am very proud of you. I will step back.
And you're saying, I am proud of you, and when I get worried, it's not about you, Tina. It's me, and I need to find a way to calm myself and not put that on you. Correct?
And not to be the nosy parent, I never had that. I used to feel invisible growing up.
You had no one to worry about you? No one who had you on their mind?
I had no one to show up at my track meets. I could be gone for 3 days and no one would notice. And when I left home at 16, I had nobody looking out for me.
So, what you are saying to her, this is not you, it's me. It's me giving you what I never got, right?
I feel bad.
It's okay. We all need to be able to talk about what we didn't get and what we need and the sad parts that don't get seen. And for you to feel this, I think it's really good. Um, and Tina, what is it like for you to hear your mother say these things?
Now I can see it more.
You can understand it more that your mother's worry isn't something about something being missing in you, but more about her own fear and her own need to give you what she didn't get when she was a child.
Yeah.
Good for you guys. You guys have a very special relationship, I can tell. Okay, so Mike and Tina. Right now, I'd like to take a look at Mike's attachment history. So, Mike, in our session with your wife and the second family session, we discussed your family and what your position was growing up. Apart from the horrible abuse, what was your role in the family?
Well, I would try and attempt to fix everyone's problems. Kind of like be the fixer upper kind of person.
So, while you were attempting to fix everyone's problems, what did you do to help yourself? Did you have someone to talk to at the time, like a friend?
No, I never did. I found that trying to fix everything in my family was the only thing I can do. Apart from getting beaten up by my dad, it helped me ignore the pain from the bruises and the trauma from it by simply fixing the problems in my family.
Okay, so to sum up, you attempt to fix the problems in your family growing up and even in the family that you have right now while sacrificing your needs and ignoring all the trauma and pain that you went through. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's just about it.
So, what about the times when you try to sacrifice your own needs and focus on fixing the problems with Tina or Deb and it doesn't work? Like a fight comes out of it, for example, and how does it feel when you trying doesn't help or work at all?
Well, I get mad. It worked for me when I was just a boy. So when I try to fix something with Tina or Deb or Josh and it just backfires, I get angry. Then it becomes a cycle where I would get mad, then get depressed, and then withdraw from the family for days.
And could you elaborate what you mean by withdrawing from the family?
Well, I would go out for hours and only come home at night, or I wouldn't talk at all, not even to my wife.
Okay, so in regards to not communicating with your family, we discussed in the very first session that you felt like an outsider to your own family. And you said that Deb was protecting Tina and Josh from you, which made you feel like they were against you, right?
Yeah, it's the same thing again. They just don't see the lens that I go to help them. I let them know however I can that I am there for them and that I'm not going to leave my family.
So, Tina, what are you hearing from your father when he says that he is there for you, that he is doing his best to help you as much as he can?
All I hear is the same thing over and over again, that he is there and all that stuff about it. It just feels like he's criticizing me when he talks to me.
The same message, and do you know how your father actually feels about you?
Oh yeah, definitely. I hear it all the time, every day, over and over again, all the time. I'm gonna go nowhere. So I have to listen to him or I can't benefit from it.
So, what you hear is not that your father is there for you, but it's more of what you are not going to succeed in anything unless you do what he says?
I'm sure that's not his intent, but it comes across that way.
Yes, because you don't want the message about not succeeding, especially when you are trying so hard to get ahead in life.
I have to get ahead of myself. My schoolwork is by myself. It's my life. And how do you get there?
Right, that's what a parent wonders and worries, but it is her journey. It's only hers. If Tina makes or breaks it, and obviously having your encouragement and support makes a huge difference, there's no doubt about it, you would do just about anything for your daughter.
She just never asks me, and there's no question to how much I care for her.
So, in your heart, you want Tina to feel free to be able to talk to you, and for you, there's nothing standing in the way of that, nothing standing in between you.
Absolutely, I never say no. I just want to be there to help her.
And you can hear Tina what she is saying right here, right now, that she is ending up getting the message and that she is not going to make it. And that is what upsets you? Right. After all, I would imagine that there are times that you get a little bit scared, and hearing your father say that you are not going to make it makes it even harder, right? You want to succeed, but you want your father to be proud of you, confident in you, and because if he doesn't believe in you, then who will?
I try so hard. He just doesn't see that.
Right. It hurts when you get the message sometimes that your father doesn't believe in you.
You are right, Tina. I did come on too strong. I am too much. Just too much. I am sorry about that.
So let's slow down here for a moment because Tina is just showing you the more tender parts of her. And this is really, really important because she is tired and worn down.
Yes, yes.
And for you to let your father know how you feel is really, really good because we are as strong as the people who are around us. You can't do it alone. Nobody can, right? But you feel the need that, like, he can hear you, he can see you, get you, understand you. Otherwise, you don't feel like you have the support that you need. And some of this has to do with his anxiousness. And he is so eager to help that it kind of takes over. And when there was no space for Tina to just say what she needs, even if it is, I can't talk about it right now, I'm tired.
It was bad timing.
So, what is it like for you, Tina, just to speak up here? Do you think he is hearing you, and what is happening for you?
In this moment, probably, but if we hadn't come here, I would have just gone home and I would have been harassed. I would just hear, it's going to be ruined. I can just hear it. That's what happens.
Yes, that's what ends up happening, and what you're saying to your father right now is that when I'm upset and angry, there's something else going on, right? I get scared that you think I'm not going to make it, or that somehow I'm going to screw up. Is that correct?
I don't believe it. I've heard it so much.
So you develop a hard shell. You have heard it so much that you don't believe what he is saying, and of course you do need to do that. But can you tell me about the hurt part, the part that does get hurt?
I don't get that.
Right, because when we were talking and I said that you got scared, that maybe he thought you weren't going to make it, that's when the tears came. Then I wonder if you end up feeling like he is not understanding you and not really seeing the Tina that you really are. And it's more about him and your dad wanting you to succeed.
Yeah, when he says those things like maybe you're not gonna make it, I maybe get like a little scared, but he cannot hurt me. I just wish it didn't have to be that way. It makes me upset that he thinks this way, but it's not going to stop me.
It is so good that you can let him know how you feel, that it angers you to not have his full support. Of course, that makes total sense because you need his support, and it scares you when he doesn't believe in you. And we all want our parents to believe in us. You have had to believe in yourself, but there is a part of you that wishes it didn't have to be this way. And to imagine that you wouldn't have always have to look after yourself, that you wouldn't have to lock everything up just to keep going, that maybe your father could believe in you for once. What is it like to see Tina's tears?
It it really hurts to see my daughter crying.
Right, well, to see her hurt hurts you too.
Right. I just want to ask her how I can help.
She's letting you see her pain and she wishes it wasn't this way.
Well, I do want to learn from you, Tina, and I want to change that. All I really want from you is to make sure that you are safe and to know that you're happy and for you to know I am here for you.
So when you do see her tears, what do you feel?
I feel sad too. I feel good that she can let me see her, and that takes a lot of courage because I could never let anyone help me. It took me a very long time to learn what she knows now.